for you, even though you're not going against the other quarterback, right? You're preparing for the Green Bay defense. Is there still something about playing one of the best in the game?
Yeah, for sure. He's an amazing player. Has been for a long time. So I love watching him play, and he's from California too. So I feel like we always have a little bit of a connection. He's an older guy now. He's been a great player in the same place for a long time. So there definitely has some challenges with that, and but he's navigated them pretty well, and he's done a great job. Leads the team, and they've won a lot of games since he's been there. And I knew Brett pretty well. Those two guys are two great quarterbacks for a long period of time in one place.
Are you feeling nostalgic at all? Could this may indeed be the final time that you and Tom Brady, your teams, face off against one another?
Not really. I have a lot of respect for the history of the game and my part in it. And the game will keep going long after Tommy and I are done playing.
I will say this, Peter King, as we continue on this Friday edition of PFT Live, presented by Google. I am no fashion expert, but I will say the backward hat with the tuft of hair carefully manicured through the hole at age 45, that's a bold choice by Tom Brady.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Mike, you know what hit me? I'll tell you what hit me about this game and this rivalry when I was thinking about it the other day, and I wrote a little bit about this in my column, is that I find it fairly impressive of all the, oh my God, Brady's still doing it at 45, blah, blah, blah. Since Tom Brady turned 41, he's faced Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers 3 times. He's 3-0, and he's put up 31, 38, and 31 points in those 3 games. And look, obviously he's not playing against Aaron Rodgers, but when you play the Green Bay Packers, you know that you have to put points up. Just the same way when you're Aaron Rodgers and you're playing Tom Brady, you got to put points up. And he has consistently done that, against Rodgers and against the Packers. And that impresses me. Now, it will really impress me this week if he puts up 30, because his number 1 receiver just might be Cole Beasley in this game, who he met 10 minutes ago. And so it's a home opener, the emotion, blah, 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 blah. But I have a feeling that the Bucs are going to have to wear name tags in this game for all the people who are going to be new and people really don't know.
Yeah, you've got Mike Evans suspended. That was upheld earlier this week. He won't play. Chris Godwin, hamstring injury, coming off of the torn ACL. It doesn't look good for him. Julio Jones, who the hell knows when he's going to be able to practice or play. Scotty Miller's on the injury report now with a calf. Yeah, in comes Cole Beasley. People wonder why Tom Brady practiced on Wednesday when he supposedly got every Wednesday off for the rest of his life. Got to get to know Cole Beasley somehow, some way. Got to get on the same page with a guy that you've never played football with before in your life, and it is going to be a challenge. But the Buccaneers have pivoted, Peter, toward this Todd Bowles mindset of run the ball, play defense. Run the ball, play defense. And yes, they still have Tom Brady, and yes, they throw the ball sometimes, but it's not no risk it, no biscuit anymore. And that pivot to more of the old school approach, well, they're 2-0. They gutted out the win against the Saints when it just felt like it wasn't their day. There are going to be times throughout the course of a 17-game season for a given team when it doesn't feel like their day. And when you can find a way to reverse that in the moment and take a game that felt like, well, we're just going to lose and turn it into a win, that's the kind of team that's going to be hanging around when Week 18 rolls around and it's time to figure out where you are on the playoff tree. And I think the Bucs are going to be there. And regardless of the questions about Tom Brady, and he does look skinnier than he ever has, to the point where it's concerning, but he's still Tom Brady, and that's not going to change. And we saw the Tom Brady fire on Sunday. He still loves football. He still loves to win. He's still going to do what he has to do to help his team prevail, and I'd be surprised if they don't find a way to beat the Packers.
Boy, this is a tough one. I probably would pick Tampa in part because, I don't know that I trust the Green Bay offense yet either. I think each offense is really trying to find itself and what they do best. And I totally agree with you. I think we could see in maybe the last Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady game ever, we could see a game where of all the times they have ever met against each other, we could see more rushing attempts than there ever has been, because I won't be surprised if Matt LaFleur says our best way in this game is to keep the ball away from Brady, so let's run it 42 times if we can. And that's not going to be easy against that defense either. You know, Vita Vea is going to have something to say about that. But I would also make this point, as you look at the offensive line, I would also make the point that, you know, every smart offensive coach does what he feels that his offense can do best. And in this game right now, I think what Green Bay does best until Rodgers gets up to speed with his receivers, they really have a reliable running game like they haven't had in some time, you know, this reliable. I'll say one other thing about Brady. You know, earlier this week, I was just looking at their games and looking at his numbers and the fact that, man, it is so weird. Brady's starting 2 games in a row. I know they've had a bunch of injuries, but 39 points in 2 games is just so odd for Brady, you know. And I looked at it, and he's averaging 6.6 yards per attempt. And of all the stats and all the new wave, new age, funky stats that you hear, DVOA and wins above replacement, which used to be a baseball stat, but now they've turned it into a football stat too. And I respect all these stats. I do, because they all say something. One of the stats that is an old-time stat that guys still look at a lot is yards per attempt. And Brady's yards per attempt is usually in the high 7s or 8s. Okay, and now he's 6.5 or 6.6. And that really has to change for that offense to become a more prolific offense, Mike.
When Kevin Gilbride was one of the contributors to our old afternoon show, Pro Football Talk, he said that one of the statistics that coaching staffs look at more than any other is yards per attempt. And if you are above 7, your offense is clicking. And now it's kind of a given you're going to be at 7. It's more like 8 or 9 yards per attempt. So 6.6, that's glaring, especially for a guy like Brady. Also, Peter, we need to point this out. He's got an issue with his ring finger on his throwing hand. And Rick Stroud, our friend from the Tampa Bay Times, reported that yesterday during the portion of practice the media could see he was clearly bothered by it, shaking it. They sprayed something on it at some point. And, of course, when he's asked about it, he says he's fine. And when the injury report comes out for the Buccaneers Wednesday and Thursday, there's no mention of any finger injury for Tom Brady. This is the team that concealed a fully torn MCL for all of the 2020 season for Tom Brady. So don't expect the injury report to tell us anything. But we know there's something up with the finger because one of the reporters covering the team saw it and shared it with anyone who may be interested in whether or not the 45-year-old Tom Brady is truly 100% right now.
Here's the other aspect of it, and I agree that is something very much worth watching. For those who don't really understand or who don't know all that much about yards per attempt, yards per attempt essentially it shows whether you're getting the ball downfield at all. You know, if you have a very low yards per attempt, you're basically dinking and dunking, and you're not being efficient throwing the football. And just as an example, Mike, in Tom Brady's last year in New England, okay, where everybody said, well, boy, he's going downhill, and where Bill Belichick, much to Robert Kraft's chagrin, said we'll be fine without Brady, and let's let him go and let's start to move on. You know, maybe he's in decline. And I'm putting words in Bill Belichick's mouth. I don't know what he said, you know, but I do know that his actions said we can let Brady go. In 2019, he had 6.6 yards per attempt. And by the end of that year, Bill Belichick was ready to let him go. So then he goes and gets reborn in Tampa, and he's then in the mid-7s over the last 2 years. And now he's back down to 6.6. And again, small sample size, beat up receiver core. Okay, I want to wait until they get all their receivers back, or at least, Chris Godwin. He needs Chris Godwin, period. That is his guy. That is his new age Edelman. And so he needs to get him back, and he needs to get Julio Jones to do something. Okay, so I understand why it's at 6.6 right now, and I don't think Brady is falling off a cliff. You have to look at this in perspective, but let's wait and see what happens. But that number just has to go up.
And I agree with you completely, and we'll see. We'll see what they can do against the Green Bay Packers. It could be a grinded-out, old-school, low-scoring game, and it could be another game of 20 or under for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. One thing Chris Sims has said all week, though, as we talk about Rodgers and Brady, this is a far cry from Mahomes and Allen at this point. Those two are on a higher plane. They are arguably number one and number two. Take your pick as to who you want as number one in the NFL. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.